Many thanks for staying with BizCheck here on KBC Channel 1. Remember that you can interact with us on Twitter. We are at KBC Channel 1. My Twitter handle is at Betty Kiptum, and on Facebook we are at KBC Channel 1 News. We now want to shift gears and discuss matters the blue economy, how the country is tapping into its blue economy resources from the rivers, the ocean as well as the lakes, and just what opportunities lie there for you in terms of just tapping them and providing employment for Kenyans. And to discuss this is Jesse Wanyeki. He is the advisor at the State Department for Fisheries and Blue Economy. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. Thank you, Betty.
Karibu, and let's just start with the blue economy. Unajua, many Kenyans have been hearing blue economy, blue economy. What is this blue economy?
Blue economy is as blue as it sounds, because it is economy on the life under the water. Right. And the opportunities available over and under the water. So it's entirely economy and business opportunities around the water. Yes, as blue as it sounds. As blue as it sounds. Yes. Right. In 2018, just to give an overview, about the Agriculture Ministry said about 440 billion shillings is lost annually because of the failure to exploit fully the blue economy. Yes. So that means this sector has quite some potential. Yes. What is going on currently to ensure that we are not losing this money? Indeed, there are various measures that are being put in place by the government and the partners and stakeholders, because the government cannot do it in isolation. And first of all is to put the right infrastructure in place. And you know, from 2018, we didn't have a concept or a department on blue economy. So today, under the Ministry of Agriculture, the President and with his wisdom and advisor, he established the ministry, the Department of Fisheries and Blue Economy. Right. And Blue Economy came after, initially, the small states around the oceans claimed that as the people were talking about green economy, they had nothing green about their countries. So they needed to also discuss opportunities available around the oceans and around the area of the water bodies that surround them. And so the concept of blue economy came into the picture. And it became a reality because at the end of the day, we realized that even the countries that also have a green and border the oceans have not exploited the resources available in the oceans as they would like to realize the potential. And so it was hyped and it was drummed up as a concept that you can also come together and master the resources and the capacity in order to help those countries that border the oceans and have the lakes, the capacity and the knowledge of and the infrastructure of redeeming and exploiting the resources under the water. And the resources under the water, remember, blue and water, it's part of the ecosystem. Right. And we also have what we call the ocean ecosystem, the lake ecosystem, and the ecosystem itself is a habitat for animals. There are animals that call water home. These are the fish and all the aquatic life. And so that means that before you think about the ship that moves on the water, you think about the animal that lives or the organ that lives under the water. Right. So it means that you have to make it conducive so that as you exploit the ocean on transportation, as you exploit the ocean on the opportunities available, just know that you are dealing with an organism's home. It's a habitat for fish, it's a habitat for aquatic and marine life, and so you need to think about it. So that at the end of the day, you do not just overexploit and cause hazard and bring hazardous substances to the ocean and to the lakes and to the water bodies, thereby killing the very life that also is part of the ecosystem of the blue economy. So literally, that's why you find that fisheries and blue economy are clustered together, because literally you will have no capacity and you will have no business with an ocean that has no life, a dead life. A dead life. Literally, we need to have a way that we can combine these two things together so that we have the best out of the habitat in the water and the best out of the non-living opportunities. Okay. So we have opportunities that are organic and others are non-organic. So that at the end of the day, when you're exploiting them, you have the capacity to balance and to make sure that you get the best out of the transportation or shipping, but also you go the best by making sure that you do not pollute the environment and the habitat of the aquatic life.
Right, of course, conservation efforts have to be done there.
Exactly.
And maybe Kenyans, most of the time when they hear of this blue economy, it's just the sea and the lakes and the rivers, but they don't know how massive it is. It said we have about 243,000 kilometers square. Of ocean spread. That is 42% of total land area for Kenya. That is how vibrant our blue economy could be, you know, or the potential it has. So even as we look at this particular economy, you've mentioned the shipping of the shipping material, or rather the shipping economy. There's also the issue of fishing. What more is there under the blue economy?
You can even categorize. Blue economy can be categorized into every individual ministry that we have within the government. Because if you look at the Ministry of Agriculture component has a component within blue economy. We have seaweed farming. We have a lot of, we have mariculture, which is part of agriculture, where people and farmers can farm directly with the seawater. You don't just have to eat what the seawater brings to the shore. You can also plant and harvest within the landmass in the areas of low tide, where when the tide is low, you can plant, and when it comes high, the waters the plant, and so forth. And we get a lot of chemical products from the seaweed, including, you've seen things like the soaps, beauty soaps, and what have you, some medicines. We get a lot of it from what is grown through the mariculture. That is agriculture. If you look at energy, Ministry of Energy, we have tidal energy, which basically is energy that is tapped through the tides of the sea. So that is one area, and one area of opportunity available. So as you talk about business in the blue economy, we are looking at where do we cluster, which ministry, and where do you cluster and plug into every ministry. If you're interested with the ministry, for instance, fisheries, we have the fish in itself. The ministry, the government, some 3 years ago, revoked the licenses of foreign vessels that were fishing in the deep sea, because at the end of the day, the Kenyan government could not get accountability in terms of taxes, and we have a lot of money, as you had said, that over 400 billion available, but we are losing all the resources and the money, because there is nobody who could account to the government of Kenya how much they are getting. Even if they catch any type of species, you could not tell. There was no regulation. So the government revoked those licenses, and instead they committed the licenses to local people, Kenyans themselves. That's empowerment, deep in the sea, that Kenyans can now come together and go to the sea and do what is called deep sea fishing. And these licenses are available to Kenyans and the ministry, because through our principal secretary, the very able Professor Antiba, who has been at the helm of the fisheries and this particular state department for nearly 15 years, has the capacity and has seen to it that over time, this collaboration and empowerment of Kenyans through the sector of fishing and fisheries is being achieved.
All right. When you talk about all these, the mariculture, the seaweed farming, the fishing itself, it needs capable people to take advantage of these opportunities and ensure that even as they do the exploitation, as you said, they are conserving the marine life, so to say. So is there something that is being done to ensure that capacity is being built and there is sufficient human resource to take up the challenge?
Yes. Number one, the State Department of Fisheries, through the Ministry of Agriculture, have enhanced training and capacity building through improvement of knowledge and technology, through training of fishermen. Currently, as you're talking, there are over 1,000 trainees who are being prepared by the State Department through the Kenya Fisheries Service, which is a state agency under the State Department of Fisheries. And they're seeing to it that the people who are interested in investing in this area, either getting opportunity through employment or getting opportunity as investors, they have the know-how and they have the capacity to invest and to even carry out business within the fishery sector. Other areas, individual ministries are supposed to come up with their own agenda. If it's the Ministry of Energy, they should come up on a way of making sure that we have registration for tapping into the sea energy. You've been seeing the ministry doing oil exploration and gas exploration in the sea. That is part of what they're supposed to do. It all comes under the blue economy, because that is exploitation of the resources under the sea, under the water. So the ministries individually are establishing capacity on how to do and how to do. If it is shipping under the maritime, they have their own responsibility of regulating the vessels that are coming to invest and to exploit the resources within this. But so it's a congregation and a collaboration between these two, or the various ministries within the government, that are going to realize the full exploitation of these resources.
And even as we exploit these resources, there's of course the raw material that comes out of it. There's value addition that is supposed to be done to maybe some products such as the fish. How about the markets? Are the markets available, and what is the government doing to ensure that local investors can get the markets out there?
I'll give one example, and I'll dwell more on fisheries. Because in 2 years ago, that is in 2018-2019, the State Department launched a campaign dubbed Eat More Fish Campaign. Eat More Fish Campaign is to enable the tribes and the stigma, for instance, that some tribes have in Kenya against eating fish. You serve a member of one community fish, and he or she says you cannot eat the fish. Because it's served is like a reserve of one community. And so we realize that we have to create our own market locally by enabling and by encouraging Kenyans to eat fish. And so the government, through the State Department, went ahead and established and launched a campaign on Eat More Fish campaign. And we have held several Eat More Fish campaign launched by Professor Ntiba and the directors within this particular sector. And it has yielded a lot of fruits and making a lot of sense, to an extent that we are talking of Kenya today has a deficient of about 400 metric tons of fish that needs to be eaten and is not available
for the local market.
So we have a huge deficit to meet, and so we are encouraging people to get into fish and fish farming. We have another state agency, the aquaculture, which deals with aquaculture, that's fish farming, because you can either catch the fish from the water body, or you can fish it yourself, you can farm it yourself. And after 6 months you have your income and you have the fish to the economy. And at the end of the day, we are encouraging that the market will be available. Through the Eat More Fish campaign, we will realize new frontiers of people eating fish. And we are encouraging people, twice a week, make sure you have fish on your menu. And don't say that you are in the rural Kenya. That's why we are doing fish farming. Places like Nyeri County, Murang'a County, Kiambu County, you can imagine they are not near a big water body, but they lead in the fish production through fish pond. They have so big numbers that totally what we get from Lake Victoria is surpassed by what is farmed within this particular region on fish farming. So you can imagine what the demand we have. And it all translates to the money, because as you eat the fish, the farmer who reared the fish gets the money. So it is a plus to the economy. So and it is helping. And that's why we do, if you're about to harvest the fish, we go out to the churches. People announce and make announcement to the community in public barazas, and they all meet and they do it. If you look at through what also the counties are doing in collaboration with the ministry, is that they're establishing various centers where you can get every information you need about fish farming, lining, distribution of lining for the dams, the type of water you need to use, the fish feeds. And the other day through IFAD, the ministry brought together counties, about 15 of them, which are benefiting from establishing of fish feeding factories within the Republic, which are going to help the farmers who are already rearing fish access affordable and quality feeds for the fish. And that is only about fish farming.
Right.
Yes.
As you talk about the local market, I'm curious about the international market now, and this is where value addition comes in quite handy. Could you speak about what's going on in that area?
Now, as you have seen also with the COVID, it's important to have local stability of anything, because we have in the past dwelled too much on the international market. If you look at tourism, the country is spending too much money to market the country out there, and ignoring the local population. But all of a sudden, we have realized, if you don't put your house in order, if you don't invest back home, then one time, that country out there might lock the doors on its own people, and you may not have that value addition out there. And so you can see, that's why we put a lot of effort locally to make sure that if Kenyans alone can meet this demand of the 400 metric tons, then it means we may not even need the international market. It is not bad, but once we are self-sufficient locally, it means we can welcome the foreigners. Nonetheless, in the deep sea fishing industry, the players still find themselves connected with the international players, because at the end of the day, the cost of investing in the deep sea fishing is in millions, almost hundreds of millions of shillings. That means in the letters of licensing, the State Department acknowledged that the locals, though they be holders of the licenses, they don't have capacity to go to the sea. And so they left it to be done through the joint venture agreement with the international players. And that means that once you go to the sea, the people you are doing the joint venture with have the capacity to sell the fish out there. But even if you do it, the State Department has allowed as a law that 30% of what you catch in the sea or outside must be docked and must be laded in the country for the local market. So literally we have 70% to go out there, as we have 30% to come in here. That is to supplement also the local farming efforts of the fish.
All right. Yeah. Just as we come to a close, let's talk a little bit about the conservation efforts and also ensuring that there is no overfishing going on. What is the government doing about this? We have enough regulations in place. If we are talking about the Indian Ocean, for instance, and Kenya has such a big boundary, over 600 kilometers of ocean boundary in the Indian Ocean. And Kenya is a member of the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. Indian Ocean Tuna Commission, and current Kenya is the chair. It has 14 members, and so we have treaties that have been set up to regulate and to avoid overfishing and destruction of some species. The Principal Secretary and our Professor Antiba has been very particular with the issues of overfishing. If you look at the Lake Victoria, he has very been keen on issues of the Nile perch, making sure that there is a particular category and size of Nile perch that you cannot remove from the water. If it is big enough to be a mother and to produce many eggs, you are not supposed to get it out. And so painful sometimes when you see people competing to get the biggest, and that is the mother of the future generation. So through the law, you are not supposed to get that big size Nile perch, because you are going to finish the progeny and the continuity of the life of Nile perch. On the other hand, you look at the regulations that have been set, and they were launched by the Honorable Minister, the CS, Mheshimiwa Munya, who is our minister in the overall Ministry of Agriculture, through the fish regulations, that we are supposed to have work in counties, and counties are supposed to enhance that there is order also in trading of the fish once it is licensed, because the process nowadays is the State Department licensing at the national level, licenses the fishermen and licenses the vessels that are being used to go and fish, including the nets, because the size of the net also determines the size of the catch that you get. So it is regulated by the fisheries officers throughout, and we have them at the county level in collaboration with our state agencies, the Kenya Fisheries Service and the Aquaculture Development Authority. And they are very keen to make sure that we have preservation of species and we avoid and keep off overfishing and illegal fishing. Yes. Right. Thank you very much, Jesse Wanyeki, for joining us and having this conversation with us. Yes. Thank you so much. Well, that is the state the advisor in the State Department for Fisheries and Blue Economy, Jesse Wanyeki, and we have been talking about matters tapping the blue economy, what opportunities exist there for you to join in. Remember, there's a lot that's going on. There's training of fishermen, there's upgrading of infrastructure as well to support this particular sector. Thank you very much for staying with us here on BizCheck. I'd like to hand it over now to my colleague Nancy Okware, who's coming in with the Swahili version, that is Tamrini. My name is Betty Kiptum. Do have yourself a lovely afternoon. Bye-bye.